Greetings and salutations, Star Wars fans. I'm Ryan Nilsson, and this is Star Wars News. And yes, we are missing Steph Sabra. She is out on assignment right now, but she will be back. We might even be recording something a little later, talking about more news, but fear not. I am joined by another massive fan of A Galaxy Far, Far Away, and we do a couple after shows. We do the Clone Wars after show. She is Rachel Goodman. How are you, Rachel?
I'm really excited to be here.
We're
So
s-
yeah.
it
Oh,
was, it was a
sorry.
bit of a last minute add-on, so thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I'm really excited to be on the show, talk about Star Wars, and get into some news. There's lots of exciting things happening right now.
So much exciting news. The Just a few other things to Rachel. Rachel's an author. We did a whole book read along, like a book club for the Ahsoka Tano novel. We love Ahsoka. And we also host the Star Wars, the Clone Wars after show on our sister network, AfterBuzz TV. She lives and breathes Star Wars, guys. And we're going to be really highlighting Clone Wars because last week the internet exploded with the Siege of Mandalore. The final four episodes
Yeah.
have started, and it's the Siege of Mandalore. But Rachel, we have a game here where if it's your first time on the show, we ask some get to know you Star Wars questions. So we're going to start that real quick. And Rachel,
Cool.
when was the first time you saw Star Wars?
Legitimately when I was a baby. Now, the first time I remember like actually sitting down and being old enough to appreciate what I was watching, like 12. And I was like, okay, this is why this movie was always on when I was a kid. But yeah, no, the first time I ever saw it technically, I mean, it was always on when I was a little kid. My dad loved Star Wars, so,
So you grew up
but
with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I totally grew up with it, but then, when I really appreciated it and, was sitting, I remember the first time I truly watched it, I was like 12 and I went through the whole original trilogy and I was like, okay, I get it now. This is why people love this. This is why this is so amazing.
This is why it's so amazing. Yeah. We always loved asking that. Also, do you have a favorite character in the Star Wars pantheon?
Uh, okay, before the sequel trilogy, I would have always said Luke, without a doubt. Like Luke was always the character I was drawn to, and I still love Luke in the sequel trilogies as well. But now I would also say Rey and Ben Solo.
Wow, the Raylo dynamic. I know you're a big Raylo fan.
Yeah, I'm a
Nice.
huge Reylo fan. Yeah.
Sweet. And just the final question, quick one. Do you have a favorite movie in the franchise?
Yeah, I would have said Empire Strikes Back. Now I would say The Last Jedi and Empire
Wow.
Strikes Back. Yeah,
A tie. Okay. If
yeah,
you had to pick one, which one would it be?
Last Jedi.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe a
I'm a
little
huge fan of.
divisive in the comments now.
I know. I'm sorry. I also just really I love Ryan Johnson as a director too.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorites. Luke plays a prominent role in Last Jedi, so it just had not that he didn't in obviously he also played a prominent role in the originals, but I just love that movie with everything that Ryan Johnson did with it.
Yeah, and it's a divisive film among Star Wars fans, but
Hmm.
we on this show we are fans with open arms. We love everything Star Wars, and from the movies to the TV shows, and man, they are just ramping up the TV lately. Most exciting of which is our first story, which is more of a just an announcement. If you aren't watching Star Wars Clone Wars season 7, and you're a Star Wars fan, what are you doing? Because this is some of the best stuff out there right now, y'all.
Yes.
Season
And
7, which wasn't supposed to happen, Rachel, and now it's the final four episodes. They've been teasing it all along. Siege of
and
Mandalore. Holy
I
cow.
just want to say too, like this is kind of to go along with this. If you have not read it, The Son of Dathomir is all about Maul, and it provides a lot of
This
context
is the
behind what
comic
we're
book.
seeing now.
The comic
It's
book,
the
yeah.
comic book. Yes, it's the comic book. So if you haven't read it, it's on Amazon. I mean, it's everywhere, but you can find it on Amazon. Definitely read it because I just read it right as we were, watching Clone Wars, and right after we watched this, the episode we saw last week, I went out and bought it and read through it, and yeah, it answers so much. So yeah.
There's so many. Yeah, there's a lot of great mediums. Star Wars from the written page to obviously the big screen and the small screen. But I mean, Twitter popped off, Rachel, last week. I mean, we've been covering this entire season. I think we're 8 episodes in, so that was the ninth. And just everyone sat back and applauded because of the excellence that we saw on screen. I mean, we did cover it in our after show, but just a few things. This episode opened with a limited Lucas production logo, just emphasizing George Lucas had his fingerprints on this, and this might be one of the last Star Wars pieces of content we get that had
Now,
George Lucas's fingerprints on it.
I looked into that, by the way,
Mm.
and can I tell you what I found out?
What'd you find out?
That it was not that it wasn't that Lucas had his fingerprints on this. They were just stressing it.
Mm.
That it was not actually, like, yes, it's a special episode, but they weren't saying that it was being like specially written by George Lucas.
Oh yeah, I think they were
yeah.
just emphasizing. Well, this whole series, he's had his
Yeah.
fingerprints on. Obviously, Dave Filoni and a bunch of other folk at Lucasfilm are the ones helming this. But I mean, they'll be the first to tell you, including Sam Witwer, who voices Darth Maul
Yeah.
and Sidious. He's saying we were getting notes from George all the time. He put it in our hands, but I think that's where the term fingerprints comes into
Yeah.
play, where the guy who started all this, he's involved. Like he was in the room, and it's really cool. And they were emphasizing it with that logo. Great point, Rachel. But then we get the movie main theme to open the episode. That's never happened for Clone Wars. Another piece of emphasis on, yeah, these next four are going to be pretty awesome. That's what I took away from it anyway.
Yes,
How did you feel?
absolutely.
Just overall thoughts of that episode.
Well,
How did you feel?
Okay, so you and I talked about this last week, but I'm just gonna say this again. The first thing I noticed was Anakin and how much he mirrored Luke, and obviously Twitter saw the same thing. We've seen a lot of people posting pictures from TLJ, basically trying to show how, like, during the Battle of Crate, where Luke is standing a certain way with a specific posture, and they then took a screenshot of Anakin in this last episode, and it was literally like they were mirroring each other.
The whole
And
episode was riddled with
yeah.
references like that. Just great homages. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then we saw Kanan Jarrus, aka Caleb Doom. So I love Rebels too. So I loved that last episode.
It really was just a buffet of nods to things we're familiar with in the Star Wars canon, while at the same time just being terrifically awesome in its own right. I think that was kind of what we walked away from it. A great cliffhanger. You guys, you gotta hop on. I have a list on the AfterBuzz TV website, episodes you can watch and episodes you can skip. You should really watch it all, but if you want to just quick watch it, we're in quarantine. What else you got going on?
Yeah.
Hop on Disney Plus, get caught up because it was amazing. But
Well,
Rachel, I want to ask. Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm just going to add one more thing, and I know this is supposed to be news, but if you're going to go back and watch episodes from the Clone Wars, one episode that I highly recommend is the arc with Mortis, and especially Ghosts of Mortis, because we see, I mean, Anakin gets a taste of the future and what's going to happen to him, but then we also get a dark side to Ahsoka too, and I feel like it kind of, not that was her fault because she was bitten, but we get a taste of the characters going to the dark, and I feel like it really ties in with what we're going to see probably in these last 3 episodes.
It's such a great point. I think, there's so many great arcs throughout the entire series, and I think this last one we're getting is going to be one of the more special ones. Just sticking to the news, again, everyone was losing their minds about it. There was even, interestingly enough, animators from the Clone Wars were tweeting out just from all the positive responses they were getting, saying, if you like this and you want more, keep praising the show and we can tell the full rest of the story.
Yes.
Rachel, does that mean there's a chance we get even more episodes of the Clone Wars?
I think we are. I really have. I mean, first of all, we know that Mandalorian did especially well. We know that there's just so much more that they can do with the franchise, and they don't have to. I mean, there's so many different characters that they can kind of go off with. I mean, we know that we have the rumors with Ahsoka, and people are debating what that means exactly, if she's getting her own show or if she's going to be on Mandalorian season 2. We're not sure yet. But in terms of the animators saying, hey, if you keep watching them, we'll keep making them. Yeah, I don't think we're done with Clone Wars. I don't know where they're planning on ending, but
Well,
I feel
I wanted to ask you this: what storyline that we know of would you like to see get animated if there were more episodes?
so I want to see right when Darth Vader becomes Darth Vader.
Whoa!
Because
Okay, okay.
yeah, and we could see basically, I'm trying to think of his name, but Hera's father. We could see him on his mission and everything that he kind of went through, and we could see the struggle of Anakin, who is now Darth Vader, but newly Darth Vader, as he. I think that we would see Darth Vader still struggling with the light, especially in the beginning,
I
even
so
though he's turned,
when you
but
say you would like to see it, would you like to see the scene from Revenge of the Sith just like redone? Is that what you're kind of referring to?
no, like after Revenge of the Sith,
So
right
more like
after.
a post, like actually seeing, we saw the fall of the Separatists in Revenge of the Sith. You would like to see the clones and I guess like the other planets of the Separatists kind of falling, like the real end of the Clone War, commencing on other and with Darth Vader at the helm of that.
Exactly, yeah. And just kind of seeing more of his struggle because I feel like that's what right now, like they've done it in books, but we don't fully get what he went through right after he became Darth Vader. And by that, I mean after everything on Mustafar. I mean after he wakes up in the suit and he's now forced to this, apparatus.
I agree. I think that'd be a really cool thing to see. We might get some of that, at the end of this season. We don't know quite yet. I know of an arc that we got a book from called Dark Disciple with Asajj Ventress that I would love to see put to the small screen. Although I think the book was phenomenal, and I would just want more. I think is what I'm saying. I don't know if we're gonna get anything better than these last four, but I
Yeah,
just think, hey, people are realizing like, wow, this is really good, and if even if it's another spin-off series, I'd be into that with a similar animation style. Just moving
yeah.
on to some other news and just kind of ending the Clone Wars conversation. Again, guys, the next episode drops tonight at midnight, and Rachel and I are doing an after show for it tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern. We're gonna have one of my friends, Frankie Altieri, who actually used to work for our sister network, AfterBuzz, massive Clone Wars fan. So stay tuned for that, you guys. But we could not be more excited about Clone Wars. Um,
Yeah.
but speaking of
Can I
TV, oh yeah, what were you gonna say?
I just want to say one final thing. I was trying to think of the book, it just came to me. Lords of the Sith is the book
Mm.
that I would like to see. I loved that book. I would like to see it
So you
actually,
finally read it.
I would like to see it in
I didn't know
a.
you read it.
I
I
did. I
recommended this one to
did.
Rachel.
I
Rachel was
did.
like, "Which
I listened to
which
the
book?"
audiobook.
Oh my
You
gosh, we
did.
gotta tell. We got so Rachel was like,
Yeah.
"Which book would you
Yeah.
recommend the most?" I was like, "Lords of the Sith." You gotta read that one, and the audiobook's amazing. I didn't know you read it.
And yeah.
It's so
Well,
great.
yeah, I listened to the audiobook. So yeah.
It's awesome.
It
That's
was
a great pick.
amazing.
I'd love to
Oh.
see that put to the small screen. Staying on TV,
Yeah.
big news came out yesterday. The head of Russian Doll, Leslie Headland, it's announced that we're going to get another Star Wars series from her. It's a female-driven series that's in the works for Disney Plus. Couple things I find really interesting about this, but I would love to actually get Rachel's opinion on this first. What was your reaction to this announcement?
Well, I appreciate when we are focused on female characters, it especially in well, here's the thing. With Star Wars, I feel like they've already done a lot in the way. They've already carved the way for this to
This
happen.
is the way.
If we look at Rey, if we look at yeah, if we look at Sabine, if we look at, we've seen a lot of very strong female characters. And so I think that this is the next step, and to have a female driven plot, I think is an excellent idea. And I'd love to see what they do with it. Does this mean that Ahsoka is going to be in this? Maybe, but I think either way, whether we're seeing Ahsoka or a whole set of new characters, I feel like fans will be open to it the way that fans were open to Rebels,
God, yeah,
where, we didn't really know those. Yeah.
and we don't. There's no other details about what it's going to be about, who's in it. Really, all the report says is co-creator Russian Doll is running it, is show running it, and it's her show, and also it's going to be female driven. I found this to be an interesting
Well, also,
announcement just because most time we've had so many Star Wars shows announced, and we've gotten one so far. It was Mandalorian. Obi-Wan's been pushed.
Yeah.
We just got Mandalorian season 3 talked about, which we'll talk about a
Yeah.
little later. They're talking about this other movie.
Rogue One, the prequel.
Rogue One prequel series. Like, what is? There's all this stuff being announced, and we're seeing some
Or
headway. What were you gonna say?
no, just for a while. I mean, it's never been confirmed, but for a while, Ryan Johnson, there were rumors about him doing a new sequel or
Or
a new trilogy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
on the one hand, I'm not gonna lie, my first reaction was, I want to start seeing these other projects before we get another thing announced. But at the same time, we're in quarantine, and who knows when everything's gonna get filmed. I'm just happy this is a franchise that's actively putting things in development as opposed to canceling things off. So
Yeah.
I am excited about that. I found it interesting that they were really emphasizing a focus on gender for this new series, like specifically saying that this is a female-driven live-action Star Wars series, but no other details. And there was some weird uproar about that online that I didn't quite understand.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. I will say that some of the people I talk to who are like, from a different generation, they were not too pleased with them focusing on a female-driven Star Wars show, but I'm all for it, and I'm very happy that they're going with this, and I can't wait to see it if it does come to fruition. I will say this:
Yeah.
I have been just from like outside Star Wars news. I was listening to For the Love of Scotland, which was a fundraiser that there were a bunch of people in Scotland doing the show on YouTube. And a few of the people who got on, like James McAvoy, said that they've been especially busy in quarantine writing. And so I'm bringing this up because my guess is that if they are saying this, that it extends to people who are writing for Star Wars as well, which is why we might start to hear that there are a lot of other shows that are coming to pass because so many people are at home writing and working on projects with all the time that we have.
Yeah, I think this is the time to be writing. This is the time to
Yeah,
get everything
yeah,
figured out, and I think
yeah.
that's what they're doing with the Obi-Wan series. That's what they're doing with this Cassian Andor series, and now they're even putting this third one. I think the story emphasizes on Disney's loving the Star Wars reaction on Disney Plus. From all accounts, Mandalorian was
Yeah.
a massive success. It's
Yes.
now Clone Wars, just with last week's episode alone, getting that visceral reaction. Everyone was buzzing about it. Like there was just this energy in the Star Wars mythos air that like you just don't see that often lately, and I think that they're leaning in. So I'm psyched about the announcement. I think Russian Doll is like a really exciting show. I need to finish it.
It's amazing. Yeah, that's another thing is that this show was incredible.
Yeah.
I feel like any show that she creates, we're in the right hands. Having heard like there couldn't be a better person to be leading a female driven show.
And I hope that this story is somewhere else in the Star Wars canon. Like, I hope it's not a spin-off from something we already know. I'm digging Mandalorian from that regard, and I hope we get something maybe from the High Republic era, because we're getting the books in the fall, and hopefully it's something around there. So I'm all positivity on this story. I think this is only good news. Just more Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's more fun for me. Going to one other TV story we had, Mandalorian already renewed for season 3. They finished filming season 2 earlier this year. We're going to be getting it in the fall. Season 3 is already in the works. I had a big question for you on this. We know Ahsoka Tano is making an appearance in season 2. Do you think, just from pure speculation, we're going to get more of her in season 3?
Okay, so this is from what I know, okay. One, I know the end of Rebels, and I know that at the end of Rebels, she's going off to find Ezra. So then and that obviously is right when the Empire has fallen, which brings us right around the time of Mandalorian. So if we're going to see her in Mandalorian, my guess is that she's still on this quest to find Ezra, or somehow just kind of bumped into her. Yeah. But like they bumped into her en route, and but that's what our goal is at this point.
Mm,
But we also know that by the time we get to the events of Tross, she has passed away. So
right.
this is what I'm thinking is that they want to finish that arc with Ahsoka, and that they might show how her character comes to an end.
Mm.
And so we might see her in 2 and 3. Do you think we're going to see her in 3?
I think her involvement in season 2 is minimal. I think we're going to get her
Yeah.
for an episode or two. And I don't even know if it's going to be for the entire episode. I think it's going to be just a few scenes here, awesome nod to the fans. But I think just reading the air, taking the temperature of the Star Wars fans, this is a character that is just firing on all cylinders right now. Everyone loves her. That has watched Clone Wars loves her, that has watched Rebels loves her, read the book, and
Yeah.
just the reaction from when they cast Rosario Dawson. Everyone was just more excited that we were getting the character in the show than the casting of Rosario Dawson herself.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I think that this is pointing in the right direction, that they are just so confident in this show. They love the writing team. We're getting this docu-series on season 1 on May 4th, and I just think that, yeah, already start in season 3. You have the time. We're in quarantine. Why not? So I do think we're going to get her in Mandalorian, and I don't think it would make sense to do a spin-off of Ahsoka, which was my next question for you. Would you want a whole entire separate show for Ahsoka, or would you be alright with just seeing how her story plays out in shows like The Mandalorian or a Cassian Andor series?
What I really want is the rumor that Rebels is going to have another season to be true, so that we could see Ahsoka finish the storyline with Ezra. I would not be against Ahsoka getting her own show in a live action,
Mm-hmm.
series. But I would, if they don't address where we left off in Rebels, there's a part of me that's going to always feel unfulfilled,
Yeah,
because that was such a cliffhanger. So that's really what I want, is to see what happens to her, what happens to Ezra, how we end up at the end of Tross, where Ezra's still alive and Ahsoka is presumably not.
I
Those are the questions I
I have
have.
a similar feeling that you do with that. I
Yeah.
personally would prefer getting series on other characters than her. Because we already got the Ahsoka series. It's called The Clone Wars. That is her series.
Yeah.
She's on the cover of all of it. And
Yeah.
so, I think I also just think it would behoove them to invest more money into new properties. This was a character who obviously very popular, but not that popular amongst the masses. She might become popular after we see her in live action, but it's only really to the Clone Wars fans. And people might be a little lost if they get this announcement of, hey, here's this character that the majority of her story is in these animated shows that a lot of people, sadly, might not watch.
Yeah.
And I just don't think it would be Disney to invest in a show like that. But I would love to answer these questions. Like maybe when we see her in Mandalorian, she's with Ezra, and it's like boom, that we got our answer there, and now there's more story for her. Uh,
So, you know what I would love? If they did create a spin-off for Ahsoka, I think that they could, but they would just have to, the writing would just have to be stellar. Like, for
mm,
example, with Mandalorian, obviously no one knew that character, brand new. Like there was no fan base, of that particular character, because they were just writing him in,
hmm
but the writing was so strong. And we had Baby Yoda, even though I don't like that name because his name is not Yoda. but
I dig it. Yeah.
but the whole thing is that it was written so, like, there were so many callbacks in Mandalorian to westerns from the 50s and 60s,
Right.
and there were so many like classic moments that just, the writing, it was just, everything was on point about it. I think if they are going to do a spin-off with Ahsoka, it has to be the same way, so that you can draw in the people who don't know who she is, who are watching just because it's Star Wars.
Right.
And that would be the best way to handle it. So like treat her almost like she is a brand new character, even though we know she's not.
It's funny because I think if we ever got some kind of spin-off series, another one, I think it would be animated. Just because the core
Yeah,
audience of that character is from these animated shows. I think she can
yeah,
build one in live action with Mandalorian, but it's never gonna beat the masses that already love her in animation. But speaking
I
of the
agree.
live action Mandalorian, we're getting this docu series on May 4th, and May 4th is just not going to even disappoint us this year. We're getting the finale of Star Wars: The Clone Wars with the Siege of Mandalore then, and we're also getting this docu series, which, from my understanding, it's all 8 at once, which is awesome. And they released another trailer for today, just behind the scenes. It's featuring all the directors. You got Debra Chow, you got your Rick Famuyiwa, you got your Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni. Like, they're all there, and Taika Waititi, of course. I find this to be so interesting. One, they shot so many behind the scenes. It's not just going to be a short little documentary like they did for Rise of Skywalker and the movies. They shot 8 hours worth of behind the scenes, and it looks like they kind of structured it around the directors.
Yeah.
What is your excitement for this, Rachel? And is there a certain director that you're most interested to see behind the scenes of?
Any of it, honestly. So just like for example, when they released everything, when they just released Tross, I watched through the entire behind the scenes. So it could be any director. I just want to see it. That's how I
Yeah,
feel about it. If it's Star Wars behind the scene, like for example, Empire Dreams, which is on Amazon, which is the behind the scenes with George Lucas and how he
oh,
made the
great
originals.
plug. Yeah.
Amazing. If you have not seen that, you should see it. There are just so many things about it. Like, but that's the thing is that I will watch any behind the scenes of any Star Wars show, film, animated series. Like, it doesn't matter. I will watch it. I am here for it. I'm just excited that we're getting
Is there a
more.
certain aspect you're most excited to see? Like, I want to know how they referred to Baby Yoda on set. I want to know like, how Taika directed that
Um,
scene with, like, the land speeder guys.
I wish that we could get copies of those scripts. I know it will never happen, but I would like to see what the character name actually is. If it's like, I don't know, this is so random, but like Eric in Phantom of the Opera, he's the Phantom. You would never know his name, but he does have a name, and it's Eric. Well, what is Baby Yoda's real name? Because it can't be Yoda. Like, he is not, like, he isn't Yoda.
And I bet they didn't even reveal the real name to people on set.
Yeah.
But I wonder if they had a code name similar to how they think they referred to Empire Strikes Back as Blue Harvest. Like, that was the secret code name when they
Yeah.
were filming it. What was the Baby Yoda code name? Was it just the
Well,
child? Who knows?
it probably the child, I would guess. The other thing is they have to know, I'm sure they already do, who the child is in relation to. I don't even know if the child is related to Yoda.
We don't know. It's a
Yeah,
great question, and I love how that is something we were wondering about this show. Like, what a good
yeah.
mystery to just keep us on the edge of our seat
And
for.
I love that they never answered it, but they haven't in season one anyway.
Well, and
I think that's brilliant.
I do too. And I've proclaimed my admiration for this director so many times, especially on our Mandalorian after show, also on AfterBuzz TV. Debra Chow. Debra Chow is the first female and an Asian director to direct a live action Star Wars, and she was, by all accounts, her episodes were everyone's favorite that were in
Yeah.
this past season of Mandalorian. I actually had the pleasure of meeting her last year, and she was like the nicest person,
Wow.
gave like such great advice, and was just talking about her time on set, saying like it was Star Wars. It was the coolest thing. She's directed so much good TV, from Westworld to Better Call Saul, and now she is apparently helming this Obi-Wan series. I cannot wait to see her behind the scenes. I want the world to just fall even more in love with Deborah Chow. I'm on the Deborah Chow train. We're winding down here, Rachel. So just the final topic here before we got to go. And again, thank you so much for filling in. Rachel again was a last minute
Of course.
addition, and she's crushing it. We got to have her back on.
This is fun.
It's so
I
much
could talk
fun.
about Star Wars all day. Yeah.
Likewise.
Do the people at home have about 10 hours?
Yes, we'll have to do one that's like an all day trivia
Yeah.
thing and raise a ton of money for something. So this is ending on a bit of like a sour note, but there's always news about the rise of Skywalker each week, and
Hmm.
whether it's a cast member talking behind the scenes or talking out of school, uh, we got the lowest profit of Disney's trilogies to date. The Rise of Skywalker was the lowest for the Star Wars films. It ranked number 9 on Deadline's 2019 Most Valuable Blockbuster Tournament, meaning, the films make a certain amount of money while they're in theaters, and then once they're put out in DVD, like, how much is it going to have a staying power? Are people going to consistently watch The Rise of Skywalker? And as of right now, it hasn't gotten the same repeated viewing the other more recent films in the franchise have. As well as John Boyega saying in an
Yeah.
article, he won't shut up about Star Wars, by the way.
I follow him. I have a lot of thoughts on John
He
Boyega. So
admitted
yeah.
disappointment this week in the film. What are your thoughts, Rachel?
Okay, first of all, I'm sure you guys talked about this back when it happened, but I don't want to say anything negative, but I think what's left a sour note in my mouth is when John Boyega took comments from fans and was editing himself punching and kicking them in a video. I was like, okay, I understand, but like we all, even if you are not a celebrity, everyone gets negative comments online. That is just how it is. That is the way people are. His response to it, I was like, okay, that's interesting. Not how a lot of people would have handled that. But so it left a sour note in my mouth. I know that even early on, he was very critical about the Raylo kiss, which I understand. Like nothing, I understand why people would have their comments about that. As much as I appreciated the storyline and I am a Raylo, I also see the other side to it. So I'm not criticizing him for that, but his way of going about it is what I'm kind of questioning. And so for him to outwardly say certain things on Twitter about the movie, it's kind of like there's a way. If you are someone, if you're an actor in a project, any project, whether it's Star Wars or anything else, there's a certain respect you have to have for the project. And I feel like John is crossing that line. Even Daisy, who came out and said a couple things about Tross, she said it in a more diplomatic way, I feel, than the way that John's handling it on Twitter.
Okay, a lot of interesting points there. And we did cover the John Boyega Instagram comment video
Yeah.
he put together. We actually have always praised whoever editing team he has. They're really impressive because he puts a lot of these videos
Yeah.
out. I actually, just to play devil's advocate a little,
Yeah, of course.
I thought that Star Wars fans, like, it's interesting to say, every celebrity has, like, the haters, they have negative commenters. I would say Star Wars is a little bit of a different scenario in that the fandom's so big, it ranges between so many decades of fans that, and they're extreme. Like, talking Star Wars, a lot of people will say it's just as complicated as talking about politics. Like, it is
Yeah,
it's a little bit of like a
true.
tightrope you got to walk. I think I think there are a lot of negative fans out there, and sometimes they're just louder than the positive fans. I do think there are more positive than negative in total, but the negative ones are loud. And
Hmm.
you know, episode 8, they got a lot of flack. Although a lot of people have grown to love it, they got a ton
What?
of hatred out there. And 9 is the same thing. I think that it was a bit of a fun, playful thing he was doing, where he was just kind of like, guys, you can comment like all this negative stuff you want. I'm gonna defend this. What I actually find that's weird, though, is now that the statement he made this week saying he was disappointed in the film. Now it's making me look back at those and be like, oh well, I mean, I actually thought that was a cool angle he was going on, as like deflecting the negativity, but now it's almost like he's feeding into it.
Yeah, and my thing with him is that he's kind of, without directly, before he's come out with this saying he was disappointed, he had made a lot of other implied comments that made it sound like he wasn't too thrilled with what had happened, just overall. And I understand, like, I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion, so I can't. It's like I said before. I am not necessarily against an actor saying that their thoughts on a movie, but there's a certain way to do it. And I just, as I watch him on Twitter, I'm like, okay, like I just question a lot of the ways that he goes about doing this.
Yeah, I mean, at
Um,
the end of the day, sometimes it's better just to leave certain things unsaid, because you're going
yeah,
to isolate fans. Like, regardless of what I say, like he left that sour taste in your mouth.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
although I didn't have an issue with it, the fact that he did anything at all, or he was saying anything about the movie, he said something. So you're gonna get a reaction whenever you say something. But yeah, no,
And
I agree.
I was more concerned about his reaction to the fans commenting than I was about his initial comments.
Yeah, that's a good thing to clarify. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
agree. It's an interesting fandom out there, but I can't wait to see people's reaction to Clone Wars tonight. Rachel, we're out of time. We got to get out of here. Thank you again so much for coming on the show. Can
Of
you
course.
tell everyone where they can find you on social media and everywhere else?
Yeah. So I'm Rachel Goodman. You can find me on Twitter at Rach Goodman. You can also find me on my author Instagram account at Rachel Radner Author. I'm also on Twitter on the author account as well at Rachel Radner. And yeah, you can pretty much find me anywhere on social media, either at Rach Goodman or at Rachel Radner.
And you guys, big shout out to Steph Sabra. You can find her at Steph Sabra Steez on Twitter, and Steph Sabra on Instagram. I know just life was getting crazy today for her, so everyone just send Steph all the love you can. Tweet at her just like
Yeah.
some hands, some high fives, some knuckle touches. We're wishing the force is with her today. But you can find me at Ryan Nilsson on Instagram and at Ryan Nilsson on Twitter. That's at Ryan Nilsson, Rynilsen. And of course, Rachel and I tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for the Clone Wars After Show. Be with us. Comment below your thoughts. Give us a rating on iTunes. 5 stars. It's going to help us rise in the ranks for the iTunes podcast listeners. Thank you so much again, and wash your hands.
Yes.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.